Stream the meeting. Setting up YouTube Live. All right, welcome everybody to our book launch live cast for She Rises. Let me I'm super excited about this, everybody. We are launching She Rises Insights and Wisdom from the Women of the Masterful Coach Collective. And look who we have here, the Masterful Coach Collective. It is great to see all of you here. So our plan today is to celebrate the launch of this book and these wonderful women and to give everybody a glimpse into the book that they have written, their chapters, their content, and we will take this away. So I'm grateful that we're here to get now and we're streaming out on YouTube as well. I think it appropriate that I'm going to first give a shout out to our faithful book shepherd, Kathy Fyock, for helping to guide all of these chapters through. Kathy, thank you so much for all your hard work.
Well, this was just so much fun to work with this amazing team. They were, of all the anthologies we put together, I think they're the most enthusiastic, meeting deadlines, and really just knocking it out of the park. So, congratulations to all of you.
Well, and Molly, I would love to come to you. Molly Claire has been she has been the captain here. And Molly, thank you for putting together your Masterful Coach Collective and bringing everybody together for the launch of She Rises. And so, Molly, first I want to come to you, and then we'll take some time going to each of the authors. But Molly, what was your idea behind, what was the genesis of the idea behind launching She Rises?
Well, I was actually approached to be a part of a book anthology, and I was considering it, but something about it wasn't quite landing. And as I continued to think about it, I all of these women that are here, these beautiful 12 masterful coaches, um, they came to my mind, and I thought about all of the wisdom that they have to share and the ways I have witnessed each of them just really lean in and face their challenges and do such incredible work with their clients. And I thought, these are the women I want to be in a book with. So I put the idea out there. And I mean, Everett, as you know, I mean, this book came together so quickly because all of these women just have so much to share and they wanted to put it out there in a book. So here we are. It's pretty powerful.
Well, I love it. Would you give us a favor? Tell us a little bit about the Masterful Coach Collective.
hmm the Masterful Coach Collective, it's kind of my umbrella program for advanced coach trainings that I offer. And so these women have done advanced trainings and master coach training to really be the most educated and skilled at guiding their clients through transformation. And so all of these women are well versed in understanding cognition, the emotions behind behavior patterns. So they're trained in the mind, emotions, nervous system, and also how to put plans of action together for their clients to move them forward. So they're all trained and also bring really unique gifts to their clients.
And how long has the Masterful Coach Collective been in existence?
That's such a good question because there's been like so many evolutions over the last decade or so, but I've been working with training coaches in advanced trainings for about the last 8 years.
Okay. Really fantastic. Now, Molly, you had the joy of writing portions of the book and the introduction. And would you be so kind as to give us just a brief overview of the of She Rises and what it's about and what an author can expect or a reader can expect to get from it?
Yeah. So, each of the women here have contributed a chapter, and each chapter speaks to their specialty And I mean, truly, the topics range from, what to do with our emotions to setting boundaries and dropping perfectionism and grief and just all of the topics that we can imagine facing. And what I love about this book is not only is there a topic for every person, and most people are going to face each of these things at some point in their life, but each author just brings a different flavor, a different voice. And so I think it's a really beautiful way to get um, just a lot of different viewpoints and the most possible help in moving you forward. So, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, let's do this. Let's start diving into this. And we're going to come to the authors in no particular order. Sandra, I would like for you to go first. Tell us, we have just a little bit about yourself, and then take us into your chapter. And we've got probably about 3-4 minutes tops for the collection of that.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a mom of three. I'm a grandma of six, and my husband passed away about 6 years ago, and that's when I came into coaching. That's when I really learned about it and started my coaching journey. And so I became a life coach with the Life Coach School. Did a lot of learned the thought work, and really loved it. And then realized that I couldn't think myself out of everything, and so was hunting for something more, and that's when I found Molly Claire, and um, and so that was really incredible. So learning that has really changed my life. I'm also I love camping. I love outdoors. I mean, that's just kind of me in a nutshell. And my chapter is all about. I kind of share my story in my chapter, and it's really about letting go of all of the expectations and actually learning to pause, learning to take a pause and really kind of reach inside yourself, because I feel like that we each have a knowing within ourselves as to what we need, and lots of times we just can't access that. And so we just need help pausing and figuring that piece out for ourselves. And that's kind of what my chapter is about. I share a little bit about my story. Sorry. I share a little bit about my story and how I came to learn to pause in my life, and what that looked like for me. And then and within that, I just share some insights. Things like peace doesn't come from proving yourself. Peace comes from knowing yourself. And sometimes the most courageous thing that we can do in our life is to pause. And when I talk about rest in my chapter, which I talk about rest a lot, that we need to rest, pause and rest. And rest it's a soul level exhale in our lives. It's what happens when we stop performing, when we stop proving, when we stop pushing past our limits. And it's the quiet confidence that we are enough. And so anyway, that's kind of me in my chapter.
That is excellent, and thank you. And for readers, She Rises right now is for sale on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. And the Kindle's at a special launch price of 99 cents. So I highly recommend you get that. And you'll find that Sandra is chapter 8 right here. In her chapters, When the Soul Whispers Enough, heeding the quiet voice that calls for rest and not perfection. Sandra, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to go to Michelle. Michelle's chapter is Discover Your True Self Through Doodles, because pens and markers are cheaper than therapy. Michelle, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Everett. I'm Michelle Kyle. And just like all of these wonderful women, have gained so much from working with Molly, and first certified through the Life Coach School, and just felt there were some pieces missing from the cognitive model. Not that had anything missing, but there was more to it than just that. And so I love that we have all been able to learn how to work with the emotions and the nervous system specifically. And mine, I do that through the tool of doodling. And so I have some little doodles here, my little doodle self. And it's a way for me to work with my clients. Number one, it is a tool that helps to quiet the anxiety in your brain, because doodling brings on the other side of your brain and it shuts down a little bit the anxiety part of your brain. And number two, it's a way that you can look at yourself, and remove yourself from the situation a little bit more. Instead of internalizing the struggles and challenges that you're facing, you can place those on a piece of paper and give yourself a little bit more compassion and a little bit more grace and gain some clarity. And so in my chapter, one of the main themes is that you're not broken, you're just buried beneath layers. And I think many of us, you'll find a common thread through our chapters of giving up the overwhelm and the expectations that we've all been buried by. And a lot of people struggle with my particular tool because they say they're not artistic. But doodling isn't about art, it's about access. It's about finding a way to be honest with yourself and seeing what comes up and letting go of some of that emotional weight. And I also touch a good portion of my chapter on the inner critic that we all have, that seems to be louder in women's heads, and how when we can turn that inner critic into a fun little doodle. Some examples that I give are Tammy Tough Love is one of my inner critics, and Queen Critique a Lot. She has a lot of things to say. But when you do that, you can recognize that the inner critic isn't the boss. They have things to say, but they don't have to be the one who's driving. And so you can reclaim your power and your choice in life when you look at that inner critic in a different light. So hopefully through doodling, you can increase the playfulness and curiosity and self-compassion that you have around that inner critic. So that is my
Excellent.
goal.
Excellent, Michelle. And she has included an example doodle in her chapter. And doodling is cheaper than therapy. I completely agree with your premise there. So for sure. So next, I'd like to have Carla Green, and her chapter is The Message in the Feeling. So Carla, tell us a bit about yourself and your chapter.
Great. Thanks, Everett. Yeah, so I am Carla Green. I am a mom of three, and I have been coaching for over 5 years now, I think it is. And I first started coaching or first started finding the life coach school because I was looking for a way to help myself with my anxiety that seemed to be crippling me more and more as I delved more and more into motherhood. And as I found the freedom from the life coach, from life coaching, I wanted to be able to help other people be able to do the same. And so I am so grateful that I'm able to do that. And then when I found Molly Claire's program and certified as a master coach with her and found a more holistic approach, it just brought all the pieces together that seemed to give us even more tools to better help ourselves. And that's kind of what drew me into my chapter, The Message in the Feeling, because emotions are such a big part of our lives and they play such a big role that I knew we needed to address how to use those to help us instead of running away from them or trying to stuff them away. Because every emotion we have is there to help us move forward in some way. It's there to give us a message that says, hey, you need to slow down here, or hey, did you know you're on the right track? Or maybe we need to pull back a little bit right here because we need to take a pause. And I just love being able to address the emotion work, especially with my clients, to be able to see how they're able to take those moments of acknowledging and being with those feelings and seeing how they can progress from them. So in my chapter, I actually have a walkthrough and have a link even to a guided meditation to be able to help people process those emotions and be with them rather than hiding from them or stuffing them away. So that's what my chapter is about.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate that and the work that you've gone through to get to this point and then to share that wisdom with others instead of just like bottling that up. So thank you. Next, we'd like to have Margot come on, and Margot's chapter is Grieving and Growing, How to Rebuild Life After the Unthinkable. Margot, it is your turn.
Hey, thank you, Everett. I'm just sitting here right now. This feels so surreal. Like, is this my life right now? And I think I'm living out in this moment what I hope to create with my clients, which is a life that just can blow their mind that it's possible to find joy and meaning and purpose again. I found coaching through the loss of my son, Andrew. He battled brain cancer for 24 of his 25 years. And when he passed away, not only was I dealing with the loss of my child, but that's, almost 2.5 decades of my identity, my roles, my purpose, what my whole world revolved around. And I was really starting at 46 all over again in what am I going to do the rest of my life? And so I had found coaching, and like the other coaches here before me, it did address the cognitive part and how my thoughts and my prevalent thought was, I am not going to be okay. Like this is never going to be okay. And that's exactly what I was creating. And I was really able to heal parts of me and shift those thoughts into possibility. But then I found Molly, and with working with my clients, there are things that you just can't think your way out of, that the loss is a legitimate loss and it changes things. And so what I'm able to bring now to my clients in this holistic way really attends to all facets of a grieving person, their feelings, their nervous system, really getting in touch again with themselves and self-knowing and exploring. So much of my life had been caregiving. I didn't even know what I liked or what I would want to do or what mattered to me. And so in my chapter, I start out sharing just part of my journey from the early raw parts of grief to the changes in relationships with people. And, I think as a world, we're not comfortable with grief and people love us, and it's hard for them to see us like this, hurting and want us to move on very quickly. And grief isn't like a problem to be fixed. It's a sacred process that, over 10 years now since my son passed away, I will always be grieving and carrying that with me. But it's integrated into this new life I've created. And like this chapter, right, is a love letter from my experience with my son. And in it, I share, some of the tools that I use. Grief can be all-consuming, and the importance of balancing restorative activities with the grief things. There's very practical packing their things up, canceling things they're involved in, so there are bills, medical bills that still come with ways to give yourself a very intentional, purposeful pause to take care of yourself. in there, I also I have a link for my free resource that are 10 comforting rituals to really help the grieving mom in that time of picking things to restore. And, that can be really hard for someone grieving. They feel guilty. And why it's so important and helping them schedule that and put that in their life
Very
and
good.
the benefits of that.
Margot, thank you. And for readers out there, you can find this in chapter 4 of She Rises. Margot, thank you
Yes, thank
for
you so
that.
much.
Your grief journey is powerful, and it's powerful that you were using it to help other people through as well. So thank you for doing that. All right, Jackie Swainson. Jackie, you are next, and Jackie's chapter is Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, What the Heck Happened? Stepping into Your Worth as a Woman of a, quote, certain age. Jackie, I love it. Take it and
Uh,
tell us
I'm
about
so
you and your chapter.
I'm so glad that when people read that chapter out loud, they actually start to laugh because it's I was taught by my grandmother when I was a young girl. I said, "Grandma, how old are you?" She goes, "Oh, don't ask me that." I said, "Well, how old are you, Grandma?" And she said, "I'm a woman of a certain age." So that was her way of sort of being gracefully, moving along in life. And I think sometimes, so I'm a mother. I've got 6 children. I've got 18 grandchildren. We live on a farm in Alberta, and we have a home here where I am now in the mountains. We love to do things together as a family, be outside. I love to eat chocolate, which is my biggest sin. I love chocolate. I love sitting around laughing and talking with women. And this group to follow them and to be in their presence has been a really humbling experience to see their reality and how amazing they are. And I'm a big proponent of learning to be authentic. So you can't hide, like I can't hide this. I can't hide my age. I can't hide behind anything. I have to really step into who we are. And there's a real struggle today with women in middle age. A lot of people, women particularly, feel less than, or they're less significant. They're not visible. Nothing is marketed towards them. They're getting older, and so they're less relevant. And that, I believe, is so far from what the reality is. And like a midlife is not really a crisis. I've worn the army boots and been slogging through the mud of all the messy middle of all of these experiences. And middle life was really hard for me. I hit a certain age, and it's like in that 6-month period, boom, everything that could happen happened. And so for somebody who has never really been that low, I was that low, and I have anxiety. So I was just a mess. And I had a little angel of a father who left a note for me one time. He came to my house and he said, I was sleeping because I was just exhausted. And he said, this little two post-it notes. And he says, Jackie, I couldn't bear to wake you up. I just want you to know you don't have to go through this alone. And so that's kind of how I feel about like stepping into midlife. We are all in this together because we will all get there. And so I work with women to sort of to transition into the best part of who we can be, because we focus on all that we're not. And really, we're amazing. And in my book, I talk about how I use a lot of humor, just because I guess that's the way I see life. But it's a cracking open. It's not like an ending. It's like this opportunity for everything to open up for us. And we get to really take a look at who we are, not who we were. Who we were is important, but who we are today, where we want to be tomorrow, and how do we get there, and what do we need to do to get there. And I love working with midlife women. I find that their authenticity, their humor, it's like I talk about the midlife is the big pause, a great pause. And it's, literally it's a great pause. Everything pauses, right? So it's not just menopause and things changing, but it's just this part in life that just pauses. And, when you take a breath and settle into that and just re-examine what we believe, who we think we are or were, and build and craft in this time of great wisdom and knowledge that we've accumulated and from others, the person that we want to leave a legacy as, and be remembered for, and to change the world as. And we have to own it's owning the transition, adjusting to change, and just stepping into it. And it's a process, and you have to think differently, learn differently, and think differently about yourself. And that's tough to do.
Well, thank you. And you had a quote I wanted to share. There's power in midlife, not because everything is figured out, but because you finally stop trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Thank you so much, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Molly, as we go through this, I'm just continue to be blown away by the caliber of people you have brought together for this. And again, you can find this in She Rises, Insights and Wisdom from the Women of the Masterful Coach Collective on Amazon right now. And so now, Kelly, you are next. And Kelly's chapter is Self-Care Reimagined, the Radical Act of Choosing Yourself in a World That Taught You Not to. Wow, that's a great title. Kelly, why don't you take it away?
Thank you. Sure. So I'm Kelly. I'm a certified
Kelly
life
Arthur.
coach.
We got to get your last name in there too, right?
Oh, sorry. Did I not say that?
No, I only introduced you by first name too, and then you just followed suit. It's my fault.
Oh, okay. So I'm a certified life coach. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a burnout survivor. And I work with women in midlife to reclaim their time and their energy and their sense of self, really without blowing up their lives, without dropping the ball at home and at work. I came to this work after many, many years of people pleasing and scanning the environment to figure out what everybody needed. And eventually I realized that there was no space for me. I was just not leaving any time for me and what I needed. I was so stressed out. I was really not present with my family, and I was very much looking for that work-life balance, and I could just never find it. And then I had a stroke at 48, and that really stopped me in my tracks. It forced me to slow down. Um, and it was really a wake-up call. So, I eventually got into life coaching because it's really important to me that women don't wait for a crisis before they give themselves permission to slow down or reset or reclaim their lives. And that's really my mission. My chapter is really, that experience is really the heart of that chapter. I talk a lot about the myths of self-care and all of the little things that we've been taught growing up that are just not true, right? That we need to earn our rest. We need to, that self-care costs a lot of money. It's expensive, energy, time, money, like all of that. And it's none of that is true. Really, self-care is very much just about restoring who you really are, coming back to who you are. It's personal, it's doable, it's simple. And then I also talk about sort of the way I think about self-care in these sort of two buckets of quick hit self-care, which is really what we are very familiar with. It's that you go get a massage or you go away for the weekend and you come back and you feel fantastic, but only in that moment, because then you're coming back to this whole to-do list, this whole overwhelm that's kind of part of the system of your life. And then the other part I think about is this sustainable self-care, where it may not feel so good, but it really addresses the stress at the source so that you're making long-term change. And that could be something like asking for what you want, or pausing before somebody is asking, before you say yes, if someone's asking you for your time, or maybe even setting a boundary. So the way I think about it is that we need both of those things. We need that instant relief where we really feel good, and then we need more of a long-term change, so that our day-to-day life feels easier. That's really my chapter.
Well, it's excellent. You had a great quote that I wanted to share with people too. You said self-care isn't about adding more to your plate, it's about clearing space for what matters. And I thought that was a really nice summation there. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, next we have Eugenie, and Eugenie's chapter is Inner Boundaries, the secret to feeling happy, joyous, and free. Eugenie, how are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to talk about my chapter. What would you like to know first? My name is Eugenie Basu, and I have a chapter in this book called Inner Boundaries. And for me, inner boundaries are sort of the linchpin of self-care, and I wanted to take a small sliver of self-care and see how, help people understand how they can get hold of themselves better. And so I'm sort of launching right into the inner boundaries thing without introducing too much about myself, but I'm Master Certified Life Coach through Molly Claire, also trained at a life coach school. And the way I got to that kind of program is because I have, already, I was doing intuitive coaching, and I wanted to have sort of more like a format, sort of something to hold on to, so to speak. And then connected with Molly later on because I was already working on these levels with the nervous system and at the emotional level, especially because I've spent years teaching yoga where everything really, through my lens, is relationship. Everything's connection and relationship from that point of view. Spent a lot of time in sort of Buddhism where I was very much interested in discovering what is truth and direct inquiry, and basically looking into like, okay, what's true for us, what's not. Spent a lot of time working with energetics, trained as a healing energy practitioner, bringing all of that together. So that's a bit by way of introduction. And so with all of this, when it comes to self-care, which is so important to help us sort of steady ourselves, I wanted to look at inner boundaries because so often when people come to me, they don't really understand what a boundary is, and especially not what an inner boundary is. So that is why I talk in this chapter exactly about what they are and how to think about them. Sometimes people are already awash in a lot of feelings, and it helps to steady your mind around what is it that we're actually doing here. So that is another way to help somebody ground more into themselves. And I consider them the linchpin of self-care because if you don't have boundaries, whatever you're trying to do is not going to be sustainable or going anywhere. And yeah, so there's different kinds of boundaries, ways of thinking about them. You can think of them as, do we need to set a limit? Do we need to have an agreement? Do we need to attune to something? Because very much this work is about checking in. It's not a check out, that gets people clearer in a moment. What do we need when we're exploring that? Because part of self-care very often has to do with uncovering what is it that we really want and need. And that goes back to that relationship to self, because so often, and maybe this is more true for women at some point, and maybe it's because we also have an identity very often as a mother. So we get to midlife, especially, this is a big wake-up time for many women. They have so focused on that one portion of their life, they don't know anymore who they are and what they want. And maybe a little bit true for men also, like when men retire, they can have that experience, like they just are clueless. Yeah, so that is basically what my chapter is about, and that is one of the ways I help people.
Thank you, Eugenie. And yeah, I think men go through some stuff, but I think women have women have there's a tougher journey there because of the other roles that they may have played in their lives and stuff. Yeah, us men sometimes will get lost, especially after retirement. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. All
And
right, so
Everett, I'm just
yeah.
gonna jump in really quickly because I know we've touched on so many of these women already, and you can see some of the through threads here, right? We're all talking about emotions and self-care and connecting with self. And I was thinking about how this is part of why this book is so powerful because so many of us struggle to know who we are, to know how to stand up for ourselves, to know where we fit in relation to other people. And we really do struggle to take good care of ourselves. And I don't even think we know what that means. I didn't know what that meant. You know, it's like I always did things to take care of myself. I exercised and I tried to eat right and do these things. But there were some of these pieces underneath, some of these nuanced ways of caring for our emotions and our soul and all of that. So that's why I just want to highlight like this book is so incredible because as you can hear, there are all these varied experiences and also just different voices, right? And different voices will kind of resonate and speak to different people. So it's pretty
Uh,
powerful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Molly. I'd like to go to Patty next. So Patty Britt Kohler, and her chapter is Why I Make Grown Men Cry. You sure have my attention, Patty.
Oh, thanks, Everett. And thank you, Molly, for this opportunity. It is a total honor to be part of this collective. And I can imagine you brought me up to kind of tag off of what Eugenie was saying there. Yeah, men struggle too. Men struggle too. They struggle in a different way. And so I am a master certified relationship and life coach. And I came to coaching right at midlife, around age 50. And through a transformation, I was undergoing a divorce and lots of change. And also found the life coach school and knew that there was more than thought work. And I had already chosen to work with midlife men for a very specific reason. I think they're a very underserved population, very misunderstood in a lot of ways, and they carry a lot of beliefs around emotion. And so I really have a heart for men. I grew up in the lumber industry, been around men my whole life. And so I had started working with men. And of course, then there was always a woman. So that's what took me to relationship coach certification with Molly's sister, Amy Gianni. And then through that, I knew that I needed more in the nervous system and some of these deeper sort of, stress, anxiety, and even trauma related issues that we as coaches can help our clients address. We're not therapists, but we can use some of the tools of therapy for sure. And what Molly offers is the training that we need to know when therapy is indicated, but to have the tools to really help our clients ferret out some of those buried experiences that are keeping them stuck in their life, their relationships, and their businesses. So I had the good fortune of meeting my new husband, who has a education program. He trains tax professionals around the country, and so I now can teach mindset with his audience, and I am able to actually help not just the women, but the men in his program learn that emotions are harmless. They are nothing to be afraid of. They're not something to escape or numb or suppress, which is what so many men our age are taught to do. And it's what leads to, I think, so much destruction in their lives, their marriages, their families, their businesses. And so I really feel like I have been called to help the men. And so my chapter may be last in the book, but I think they saved the best for last. So the audience, of course, for this book is women, but my chapter is really for the women in this book to hand to the men in their lives and help them get a little taste of coaching and maybe be willing to try out coaching. I know therapy has some stigmatisms that men our age are usually not willing to. I think it sends a message that there's something wrong with them, that there's something broken that needs fixing, where coaching, I think most men can relate to. So I'm hoping that the women out there that read this book will hand it to a man in their life, a husband, a son, a dad, and it will entice them and help them see that really the reason I titled it that way is crying is a healthy release. It's just one of many healthy releases. But emotions are a normal part of life. And the more you can really learn to embrace them, you become unstoppable. It's like a superpower, what I teach my clients. So thank you.
Wow, Patty, thank you so much. And yes, definitely save the best for last there in the book. And so great, like you said, that here, hand this off to the men and hand my chapter off to the men in your life because they need to hear some of this message too. So, all right, I'd like to shift now to Midori. Midori, thank you so much. And Midori's chapter is From Burnout to Purpose, Redefining Success from the Inside Out. Hello, Midori.
Hi, Everett. Thank you for a nice introduction. Yes, my name is Midori Takada, and I'm originally from Japan. And I'm also a corporate dropout turned life coach with over 20 years of experience in architecture, design, and leadership. And I was in New York City in hustle bustle culture for 26 years. Now I help high achieving people recover from burnout and create success without stress. But what I really mean to say is that I am so passionate about helping people pause to slow down, reconnect with themselves and with their values, and redefine success through their alignment. And I've just, let's see, okay. So Molly knows and everybody knows in this group that I'm not really good at public speaking and I get so nervous. So I have all the cheat sheets around me right now. So I'm trying to find what I was going to say next.
Well, you're
Anyway,
you're doing a great job. So, and yeah, just tell us what your chapter is about.
yeah, my chapter is about basically my own experience and what I see in my clients. But basically, for years, I did everything right, and in the corporate world, and built my career, climbed the ladder, chased all the milestones. But somewhere between doing and striving, I lost myself. And I didn't even know I was burned out. And I was just, my worth was so tied to accomplishments and productivity and all the things you see on the paper. So I felt like I got my life right, but I was so, felt like really lifeless. And I was chasing something that I couldn't really put my finger on it. And then around the time I found life coach and I really dug into it and got myself thinking I really like this and I like to help other people who are experiencing the same thing. And here I am. And in Molly's coaching container, I wrote about that in this chapter. I continue to chase this productivity, or I'm really prone to burnout. Like I'm so hardwired, and I'm always, and still I tend to fall into this burn myself out kind of state all the time. But through this deep work, I found myself really okay with who I am, and that gives me real comfort in, no matter, it's like I am evolving. My life is not perfect, but I have all the tools to calm myself down when I'm really overwhelmed. I can slow down, and
Right.
I can help my client the same way.
That was excellent. And Midori, you said in your chapter that most of you don't have a time problem, you have an energy problem. And so I will encourage people to pick up She Rises and Midori's chapter to help address that as to an energy problem rather than a time problem. Because you're right, I think most of us think we have a time problem. All right, Maria Hendershot is next, and Maria's chapter is Joyful Reinvention, the joy of coming home to yourself. Maria, how are you?
So good. I'm just so happy. I'm getting emotional listening to all these paths because or all these women, because as I listen to these women talk, and I realize we all come on these different paths, but we've kind of all reached a similar place that has brought us to this. So anyway, I'm Maria Hendershot. I am also a master certified coach, and I focus on joy and wellness for busy moms. I'm a veteran homeschooling mom, but I'm still homeschooling. I have 6 children, and I've been homeschooling for 25 years now. And I am a brand new grandmother with another grandbaby on the way.
Congratulations.
And so they are my life. I got into coaching very similarly to other women. I was experiencing burnout. I have a lot of energy, and it was like I had this bucket with holes in it, and it didn't seem to matter how much I did or how much I tried to pour it in. It just came out the other end. And I found life coaching, also through the Life Coach School, which was awesome. It changed my life, and I did something bold. My husband and I was like, my little light's about to blow out. It was going dim. I was really struggling with anxiety, depression, overfunctioning. I would tell people I just lived in overwhelmed. And so we did something bold, and we put our house in the market to just completely move ourselves from the situation that we were in, just for a brand new start. So we sold our house in 3 days and traveled the world for not quite a year with our kids, and it was awesome. But then we had to come back to reality, and we got settled in Arizona, and we love it here. My kids are thriving, and yet I found myself in the same place that I was before, because I realized that it was in here. Like I just took everything with me, and so then entered Molly's program, and I started to learn that what I was missing was really coming home to myself, and learning how to feel that pause and just really listen to myself and my needs. And I wrote this book, or this chapter, The Joyful Reinvention, because I want to help other moms who have this view. Sorry, I get emotional because it means so much to me, but when I see moms and they have built this beautiful life, but they're so busy that they can't enjoy it. And I want them to know how to find joy just in every day, and that it's not something that they have to work for, that they have to check off everything on their list before they can experience joy, that joy is right there waiting for them. Our birthright is to have joy, and that it can be found just in every day. So that is what my chapter is about. It talks about the myths of joy, which kind of makes it so hard for us to get to, and also like our joy zappers tendencies that we happen to have just as humans and as women often. And those are things that steal our joy, and how to recognize those. So
Well, and we love your emotion, so don't bottle that up at all. Please keep it coming. Fantastic, Maria. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, so I think we have just a couple left here. Angela Gaskin, you are next, Angela, and thank you for your work. Your chapter is Perfectly Disguised Behind the Mask of Having It All Together. Angela, congratulations, by the way, along with everybody, in becoming an author through this book.
Thank you, Everett. This has been such honestly, a dream come true. I would, not to go back too far, but when I was a young child, I was so shy. Like, I was just inside of my head. I was so afraid of what other people would think or say. And so I just tended to live in the background of my life. And yet there was this fire and this light inside of me that I wanted to come out, but I was so afraid. And so fast forward to being an adult, where I had lived my life up until then, really just living behind this curtain of fear of what other people would think. And so I would wear this badge of honor of perfectionism or people pleasing or doing all of these things that got me that accolades, because that felt safe. That felt like, okay, if I'm doing things or if I'm busy, then that means that I'm valuable. And that was kind of this shield that I lived behind. And so when I discovered coaching, it literally changed my life. I didn't know that there was another way to think, that I could actually be in charge of my thoughts, that all of these things weren't just true, that other people would think things about me if I did something. And so it was life-changing to me, and yet super scary at the same time, because again, it was putting myself out there in a way that didn't feel safe. So I just became very passionate about the coaching. And yet, I think Sandra had said this earlier, the cognitive piece of it was so powerful for me, but there was still something inside of me that just, I was still stuck and I was still frustrated. And so that's when I found Molly with the holistic approach that she takes. And it has just been, again, another life-changing opportunity to be in the Masterful Coach Collective with her, to understand the nervous system, to understand what's going on inside of my body, not just in my head, and how it all connects. And so that's kind of the background of what got me into coaching. And I too am a master certified through Molly's program, and also went through the life coach school. And so it was kind of the backdrop of the chapter that I wrote. It being perfectly disguised behind this mask of having it all together. And I'm getting emotional too. Thanks, Maria. Because it is so powerful. Just being here is just evidence of the strength and the power of this work of coaching, and of the dealing with the nervous system and your emotions, as you have the tools to understand. And I talk about in my chapter, just recognizing that actually there is this curated, the mask that we metaphorically live behind, that for me was just dimming the light that was in me, and it wanted to come out, and I didn't know how, and I was scared to do it. And so I really talk about the types of masks and how it really shows up in life, which can be the perfectionism, and which can be the people pleasing and the buffering and all of the things that we do to kind of cover up and hide behind, because we're afraid of maybe what other people are thinking, or maybe we're too much. And so we want to dim ourselves. And I was feeling stuck. I was feeling trapped in this metaphorical prison. And so I just wanted to share that it's a very personal story, but I also share what this looks like in the world, and what that can look like in your life between overwhelm and burnout and anxiety, and the tools to be able to come into a supportive place that feels safe. And that's where the nervous system comes in. We learned about tapping. So huge. It's such a passionate, that's my new passion along with coaching, is the emotional freedom technique of tapping, because that's where it really helps to calm that nervous system, to create a safe place in your body so that your mind can then do the work that it wants to do, and to be able to come out from behind these curated masks, to let your light shine. And so I talk about that in my chapter of just having a supportive, safe place to really become authentically you. One of the favorite quotes of my chapter I wanted to share is, the goal is not to be radically vulnerable, but to be gently real. And that's what I offer my clients, is this gentle, safe place to be able to recognize and rediscover that true light and ignite that light within you. And so that's kind of the basis of my chapter.
Thank you so much, Angela. That is terrific. And I'm glad you've pulled that quote out to share with us very much. All right. And then, so I think to wrap us up, unless I've missed anyone else, Marianne Brereton, you are next. And Marianne's chapter is What the Brain Needs to Heal and the Body Longs to Feel. Restore regulation and joy with EFT tapping and breath work. Hey, Marianne.
Hello. This is hard going left with all these
batting cleanup. That's what we call it, right? This is where you get to hit the home run. It's fine. It's great.
With all these amazing women, though, and I'm supposed to sit here and not cry.
Well, if you start crying, we're all going to start crying. So,
well, that's my thing. I always start crying. So it may be really tough, but I'm Marianne Brereton, and you said it correctly, Everett. Thank you. Good job. And I have 6 children and 10 grandchildren and 2 golden retrievers. And right now they are my babies at home. The rest have all left, and I'm an empty nester. I love nature. I love people. I love the work that I do. Here I go. And my chapter is about survival. It's about my story of early childhood abuse and trauma that left me invisible. And I know that's been said before. It left me invisible, and it left me wanting to hide. And I remember we traveled a lot. I've been married for 51 years, and we traveled a lot. And every time we went to a new place, I would tell my husband I wanted to be invisible, because I didn't want people to know me. I didn't want people to know the pain that I had inside of me, even though I didn't have the memories. Because the abuse was so early, my brain protected me and kept me from being able to remember until later in life. And then gradually I was able to find out what had been done to me and start looking for help. I ended up with a complete breakdown when I had my last child because of the trauma, but at the time I didn't realize it was because of that, and had to rebuild my life at that point. I was completely non-functional and unable to take care of my child. And I know, Angela, you know this story. And I had so many people that helped me. And there was always something in me that wanted to heal myself and to learn so that I could help other people with what I went through. And over the years, it took me many years, but I found life coaching and it changed my life, just like everybody said. But then I became trauma informed. And I knew that there was something missing because something didn't feel right in me. The cognitive work felt judgment. It was judgment for me. And shame. So I had to find something else. And that led me to Molly, who is my person. I am so grateful to her and I love her so much. And through her program and the people that taught us, I rediscovered EFT tapping, which I had been introduced to many years before. And I trained to be a clinical EFT tapping practitioner and to understand how to teach functional breathing as well. Because that's something we always have. We always have access to it. We're not going to go anywhere without our nose and our mouth. So when we
Not far, that's for sure. Well, one of the quotes you said in your chapter is you don't have to be fixed. And I appreciate that. And it reminds me of earlier when one of your fellow authors said, that recovery from grief, like people just want us to get over it, like get past it, like we become like healed or done with it in some way, instead of no, that still becomes part of your journey. It becomes part of you as you experience life going forward. And I think that's what you mean by you don't have to be fixed. There's a part of you that's your life is going to be informed by those experiences, good and bad, and they're part of us, and then we move forward. And Marianne, by the way, your kind thoughts and words about Molly and the rest of the coaching collective here are, tender, and thank you for sharing those very, very much.
So true.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Molly, I'm just so impressed with the caliber of people in the Masterful Coach Collective, and I want to kind of wrap this up by just congratulating all of you. You are now breathing rare air. We talked about breathing, Marianne, and you are all breathing rare air. There's so many people wish to become published. So many people wish to write a book, and a very, very small number of people ever see that happen in their lives. And so congratulations to all of you on your book. Margot, do you have that? Was that a blanket or a sweater? What was that? I want to see that again. I'm gonna spotlight you so everybody can
It
see
was
this.
my sweatshirt. It says, "I'm in my author era."
There we go. I love that. You are all in your author era. And for everybody else out there, please pick up a copy of She Rises, Insights and Wisdom from the Women of the Masterful Coach Collective. And Molly's getting a picture of everybody. So why don't everyone, if you've got a book, hold it. If you don't, that's fine. But we'll see if we can somehow get that as a screenshot. Everybody smile.
Right. All right.
I think I caught it. And so I'll save that over for a screenshot. Molly, do you want to have the last word and take us out here?
I mean, yeah, yeah. What do you say, right? I mean, it really, it's such an honor to be here with all of these women. And, I'm so grateful to hear the ways that this work we're doing has impacted all of these women. And I know that, we all share in the experience of having faced really hard things in our lives. And while none of us have wanted to face those things, I'm really grateful for the honor it is to be able to, along with these women, that as we face these things and as we lean in and we seek to learn, that we're able to then turn around and help others, because that's what it's all about. So I'm just grateful for these women, and this book is just it is one of the most powerful things that I have in my house, and I'm so grateful for it. So thanks to everyone.
Well, congratulations again to everybody. And we're just, it's been super great to work with all of you. Congratulations on this book. I'm excited to see what it does. I can share with the people that we are currently, it's #1 in Canada. It is currently #4 in the US and working its way. And that is a super